We often think that midlife is just a crisis. But I'm not talking about the common idea of buying something new or getting a quick change. I mean when you really start to see the huge inner change that happens when your soul's basic structure begins to rebuild itself, usually between 40 and 60. And here's something people don't usually say. For women, this change is often mistaken because we confuse a physical process, menopause, with a deep inner awakening. Are you tired of fighting to stay the same person you were before? This whole struggle causes a big inner conflict. We've all felt it. You get this sudden feeling of being lost or ungrounded. You look at your life, your job, your family, your social role, and it all starts to feel like it's not enough. It's more than just a hormone drop, isn't it? It's a feeling that the person who achieved all those things is now fading away, and you are left standing at the edge of a great inner emptiness. Nobody tells you this, but that terrible feeling of being useless you might have, that sudden sadness for the self you are losing, it's not a mistake or a fault. It is your ego complaining loudly because your true inner self is finally trying to emerge. Here's the paradox. What if everything we've been taught about happiness being linked to constant work and youthful energy is backwards? What if this descent into the menopause time is actually the initiation into your wisest, most powerful self? This is where the trouble starts. Society tells you to simply fix the symptoms, the brain fog, the sleeplessness, the anxiety, but it never tells you to listen to the important message those symptoms are carrying. Do you ever feel like you can't stand the noise anymore? Do you feel an immediate physical rejection of things you have to do, of pointless small talk, or of any activity that feels meaningless? See your struggle as a sign of waking up, not weakness. The world needs the wisdom of the woman who has successfully navigated the psychological underworld and brought back inner gold. I want to show you the 5 surprising mental health challenges that are actually huge opportunities for spiritual growth for the sensitive soul. Let me share 5 important things you must understand about the inner life of menopause for the highly sensitive soul. 1. The death of the persona. The first thing you must understand is that the anxiety and sadness you feel are often caused by the death of the persona. The persona, as Jung taught, is the social mask. It's the part of you that is well-behaved, polite, and acceptable to the world. You might have been the perfect mother, the best worker, the welcoming friend. Psychologically, menopause is a chemical fire that burns this mask away. You suddenly can't keep the front up. Think of it as a stage play. For years, you were the lead actress saying your lines perfectly. Now the theater is dark, the show is over, and you've had to take off the costume. You suddenly don't know who you are without the script. This confusion causes huge inner upset. You're not falling apart, you're simply taking off the protective armor you no longer need. Consider the woman who suddenly quits her longtime volunteer job, not because she's lazy, but because the sheer emotional effort of acting that role is now too much. Her body simply refuses to continue. People might call her selfish, but in truth she is finally being selfish, listening to the needs of her inner authority. Here's the deep part. Your sudden intolerance for what you once put up with is not a flaw. It's your true self demanding to be seen. This is the wisdom of the older, wiser woman starting to take charge. This is why the freedom of saying no is both scary and essential. And that's the key to finding peace in this chaos. Let the mask burn. The second, even more important challenge, especially for the empath, is what I call the flood of the unconscious. You might suddenly feel overwhelmed by strong, oversized emotions, a burst of anger, sudden tears, a sadness that has no clear outside reason. For years, your inner emotional world was controlled, often through the natural energy of your body. When that changes, the contents of your unconscious mind, all the hidden feelings, the sadness you never fully felt, the life you never lived, come rushing up. It's like your inner dam has finally broken. It's like needing to let muddy water settle. If you keep stirring the water, it stays cloudy. For years, you were stirring with being busy, working, and focusing outside yourself. Now your body forces you to be still, and the psychic mess is finally visible. It's uncomfortable, but only in stillness can the water become clear. But here's what nobody tells you. This isn't random craziness. These are old, broken pieces of yourself that need to be understood and integrated. I once knew someone who suddenly started crying over the death of a childhood pet. It wasn't about the pet. It was the unclaimed sadness for all the small, innocent parts of her life that she had allowed to perish without recognition. That sudden emotion is the soul's way of asking for attention. Think about it this way. Your sensitivity isn't a weakness. It's an antenna. You're not just sensing your own hidden feelings, you're sensing the grief and worry of the world, and you've lost the hormonal shield that once protected you. This is why you must learn to become the watcher of the emotional storm, not the victim. And that's the key. The turbulence is the cleaning out.
3. The shadow's rebellion. The third thing, which is perhaps the most sneaky mental health challenge, is the shadow's rebellion. Do you ever feel an urge to do something totally unlike you? To be completely selfish? To reject your responsibilities? To speak a difficult truth? That's the shadow demanding its turn. The shadow contains the parts of yourself you decided were unacceptable, the aggressive, the self-centered, the intensely creative, the angry parts. When your persona weakens, the shadow breaks free, sometimes with great force. This is where we see the phenomenon of the garden needing weeding. Your life used to be perfectly managed, but now the wildest, darkest weeds are growing. Resentment, jealousy, a sharp, bitter mouth. You're not a bad person. You've just stopped suppressing the parts that need to be consciously accepted. But here's where it gets risky for the empath. You often project this shadow onto the people closest to you, suddenly finding them to be the source of all your frustration. Look at nature. The old wise tree stops focusing on growing outwards. It strengthens its roots and prepares for winter. Its purpose is no longer bloom and fruit, but durable wisdom. What people call antisocial in you is actually a deep, natural need to reclaim your energy for essential inner work. The final paradox: the more you let go of the perfect, ideal image of yourself, the more whole you become. You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to disappoint people. There's no shame in needing alone time. This is why your fierce, protective boundaries aren't mean. They are an act of self-preservation and spiritual maturity. 4. The loss of teleology. And the fourth, the most critical of all, is the mental health challenge of the loss of teleology, or the loss of a guiding purpose. You've probably heard that cold question in the quiet moments. Is that all there is? The goals that motivated you for 20 years suddenly feel empty, pointless? Teleology is the idea that a thing is directed toward a final purpose. For decades, the biological drive of your body provided a powerful, unspoken purpose. When that drive steps back, your soul's purpose must step forward. If it doesn't, you fall into a spiritual vacuum, which shows up as deep sadness. It's like the moment you realize the finger pointing at the moon is not the moon itself. For so long you chased the finger, the achievement, the title, the outside praise. Now the finger has dissolved, and all that's left is the vast dark sky. The confusion is not the lack of light. It's the realization that you must now learn to find your way by a different internal star. Even the ancient wisdom teaches this. Look at figures like Jesus or the Buddha. They walked away from the established order to start a journey of inner necessity. Your need to retreat is not a sign of failure. It's a first step toward an inner calling. Here's the deep part. You are not failing. You're simply being forced to switch the outside goals of the ego for the internal necessity of the self. This is the shift from doing to being. This is why the search for meaning now matters more than the search for happiness. And that's the key. Your next great work won't be a project. It will be a state of being. So here we are back where we started, looking at that initial anxiety that felt so isolating. All of these points connect because they are all signs of one great, wonderful, terrifying event, the emergence of the unique individual. The death of the persona, the flood of the unconscious, the shadow's rebellion, the loss of purpose. They are not signs that you are broken. They are signs that the old vessel is no longer big enough to hold the powerful, complete person you are becoming. The beautiful secret is this. Menopause is the great psychological separator. It separates you from the expectations of others, from the roles you outgrew, and most importantly, from your own attachment to an old, limited self. The ultimate paradox. The suffering you endure during this transition is the necessary fuel for your ultimate wholeness. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not simply getting old. You are undergoing a radical individuation. You are being called out of the crowd and into the authority of your own soul. Shift from the problem of your symptoms to the wisdom of yourself. You have earned the right to your solitude, to your intensity, and to your unflinching truth. The next time you find yourself standing in the middle of a room utterly overwhelmed by the sudden weight of the world, remember what we've explored today. Remember that the fierceness you feel is not instability. It is the strength of the wise woman finally emerging. Take a breath. Allow the mud to settle. You are the universe experiencing itself through the filter of a sensitive, enduring, and ultimately unbreakable soul. This is the dance we're all part of. The journey continues, always inwards, and with every step you become more truly yourself. Go well.